Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. We got something a little bit different today that I'm putting out on my channel, along with some super huge news in the train simulator community. That's right, Dovetail Games has announced today that Train Sim World 2 is going to be coming out later this year. I think in the fall actually of 2020. It's like August or something like that. So it's coming out very shortly, which is amazing. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed, but it sounds like that Dovetail Games have been working on this for quite some time, and it sounds like something that will actually be released on the release date. I have not read the full article completely, but you guys are going to follow me along in doing so. I didn't expect a full-on new Train Sim World game, and Train Sim World 2 I guess is sort of new, but it's still very close to the original Train Sim World. I've been talking to people within the past 10 minutes on the Approach Medium Discord channel, and the best way someone explained Train Sim World 2 is kind of like the transition from Trains A New Era to Trains 2019 or 2020, whatever it's called. That's pretty much what this update, what this new game pretty much is. It's not an update. I guess I should specify that. It's not really an update. It's more of a new game. It's taking the original Train Sim world and kind of adding some things and growing on it. And you'll see why Dovetail Games is doing that. So here we are, Train Sim World 2. The evolution of train simulation, coming August 6th, 2020. Master iconic locomotives on high-speed services, long freight hauls, or precise commuter traffic, and get creative with customization tools in this advanced sequel. Climb into the cab in Train Sim World 2. So you can see just by the image of it, we do have the AC 4400 of CSX, we have the ICE, and we have, I think this is London Underground. I'm not too sure. I get very blurred with my European routes and such and stuff outside of North America, but obviously I see CSX and I think happy thoughts. So let's go ahead and scroll down here. Authentically replicated routes and locals. Feel the thrill of high-speed intercity German rails as you push the throttle and climb speeds in the famous DB ICE 3M out of however you pronounce that. Oh, Cologne. Yeah, I butchered that, whatever. Sorry about that. Take on the challenge of hauling long freight across Sandpatch Grade with the CSX AC 4400 CW and master the complex operations of the London Underground on the Bakerloo line. All official license, all authentically recreated. You're in the cab and in control. So yeah, I believe the ICE and London Underground are not currently in Train Sim World, however Sandpatch Grade is. Next is Get Creative. Personalize your rail journey with 2 brand new easy-to-use tools. Create your own custom liveries with the livery designer that allows you to craft both simple and complex designs to bring your Train Sim World 2 loco liveries to life. Create your own scenario with the scenario planner, picking locos and destinations before you jump in and take to the rails. Quick drive your way. There's amazing things right here. So first off, a livery designer, which it seems like you don't need to own Photoshop or anything like that to create any scheme you want. And it seems like you have both simple and complex designs, so you can create anything, you know, you can create a range of different schemes. So I would assume that, you know, people would take, for example, the CSX AC 4400. They might try to replicate Norfolk Southern, Union Pacific, Canadian Pacific schemes on that locomotive using this custom livery tool. So that's pretty cool. That would be the first, I think, in a train simulator game, unless Trains had it. But I'm not 100% sure. Either way, to put that in Train Sim World, that is pretty cool. Also, create your own scenario with the scenario planner. Picking locomotives and destinations before you take to the rails. Quick drive. Just like what Train Simulator 2020 has. And I think that is awesome. You being able to create your own scenario, having that scenario planner, you know, as well as being able to do this quick drive as well, jump into any like locomotive, you know, create your own consist, all that kind of stuff. And that also to me sounds like there might be some Steam Workshop integrations in the future as well. Taking a quick glance, it doesn't look like there's going to be much Steam Workshop integrations at release, but it seems like it's something that they're going to be able to add on. But that is also exciting to see that us creators can create our own scenarios and just add to the game. This one was also very eye-catching. Experience a new level of realism. The proprietary Simugraph vehicle dynamics engine has evolved, adding realistic adhesion physics for the first time. Feel the slip of wheels in adverse weather, master moving heavy freight, and keep control of your loco power on steep inclines. Optimized and upgraded visual fidelity also gives Train Sim World 2 dynamic skies and 4K support. So let's talk about the Simugraph vehicle dynamics here. So this is something that I feel like Dovetail Games has really struggled with, especially with the heavy consist of Sandpatch Grade. And the first thing is long consist. Long consist has multiple issues in Train Sim World. One, super long consist will cause lots of frame drops within the game. There's also some physics issues, I believe, whereas you get these, you know, crazy backlashes of the locomotive. Like, you can start accelerating and you'll pull like a, you know, you'll start to stretch out the consist, but then as soon as you stretch all the consist, the loco like starts to slow down and it, you know, drags and things like that. And some of it I feel like is sort of realistic, but at the same time it's not. And, you know, maybe that has been tweaked, you know, with the adhesion physics, maybe, because maybe they're trying to put the adhesion physics, you know, within, you know, the consist dragging. So now that, you know, you have adhesion physics separate, you know, maybe it might not be such of an issue. But this is interesting to see, you know, so we'll get wheel slip, which is nice. It's a real thing in real life, especially with heavy consist. So that should be really cool, especially with weather. So snow. I mean, rain may cause some slippage, but snow and icy rails definitely will play a huge role and factor into your experience. Immerse yourself in simulation. Get clear information on instructions, gradient, and speed profiles as you drive, including a new HUD display, clarity to the onboard safety systems, brake controls, power meter, and accelerometer. A new control scheme will give you great choices on camera and driving modes and allows easier access from internal camera mode to enter another vehicle in your consist, all while full physics and simulations are still running. I brought this up actually in a video about how Train Simulator 2020 and Train Sim World's HUD is different. And I do prefer the current Train Sim World HUD over that, especially since it's very simple, and quite frankly, you get more of a realistic approach to it, where, you know, in Train Simulator 2020, you have the full-on gradient map. You know, Train Sim World, you're not given that gradient map. And so here it almost seems like they're going to try to maybe implement the TS 2020 HUD maybe in the Train Sim World, because it talks about gradients and speed profiles coming up. I hope we don't get a HUD like TS 2020, because, like, again, what we currently have now is great, you know, but if they're able to maybe give like future indications on what your, you know, gradient is, you know, they already kind of give you your future speed profiles, you know, what the next speed limit is. But either way, I guess as long as it's player friendly, you know, it's not too much of a change or a jump, I think that's, you know, going to be really cool for the sim. You have clarity onboard safety systems and brake controls, power meters, and accelerometers. That is an issue with the current HUD, where it's kind of hard to read those things, like the power meter and such, and your brake systems on that HUD. But if it gives you more precise numbers and things, that might be nice, especially for those players who like to play in third person and not necessarily in first person. Those might be some nice additions. Otherwise, if you're in first person, you kind of already have a lot of those numbers, you know, your brake pressures, your power meters and stuff within the cab. So you can see those in real time. But I digress. A new controller scheme also as well. and especially with the camera stuff. And I do agree there needs to be an update with the button mapping. So hopefully, they integrated the new button mapping to fit with your control scheme, as well as changing your camera positions. It seems like the camera stuff is focused way more in this little paragraph here. So interested to see how changing cameras will work. And this is a big one here. All while full physics and simulation are still running. That can be an issue when you change your camera positions, or you go to do anything within the sim. Currently in Train Sim World is that the game kind of stutters, when you go from camera to camera, or you go from the front of the consist to the rear of the consist. Sometimes that will just screw up the sim for whatever reason, especially loading like the surrounding scenery. That will usually go downhill when you go from like the front of the consist to the rear and such. So there's some positive things out of here. This is once again another big aspect of this Train Sim World update, and that is preserving your Train Sim World collection. Your collection comes with you. You can play your Train Sim World 2020 add-ons in Train Sim World 2. Train Sim World has always been about your collection, your choice of add-ons from your favorite region, time period, diesel, electric, passenger, freight, whatever it is, your way. Your purchased Train Sim World 2020 add-ons will be available to play in Train Sim World 2, and that is huge. That is huge, which means that all of these will move over to Train Sim World 2. As long as you own them in Train Simulator 2020, you'll have them in Train Sim World 2. And obviously, if you buy Train Sim World 2, and maybe it's your first Train Simulator game, I'm sure you can, buy these within Train Sim World 2 as well, and play them within Train Sim World 2. Once again, that is nice that we don't have to re-buy them. Because I believe you have to buy Train Sim World 2. Just like the analogy I said earlier with Trains A New Era and Trains 2019, you still have to buy the base game, but you can bring over routes from Trains A New Era. So it's just like this. In TSW 2020, you can bring over the routes and bring that over into TSW 2 and still be able to use them. So there is a full frequently asked questions section in the bottom of this website. And I mean, there are a ton. I mean, you're scrolling down and the page can't even keep up with it because it continues to load stuff. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of great things in here. Let's open up a few of them. I don't know if we're going to highlight all of them, but we'll get to a few of them. So the first one is why Train Sim World 2. Train Sim World 2 is a new simulator for PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4, separate from any previous Train Sim World experience. And they make it sound like, again, it's a huge jump. I mean, it may be a huge jump, but it's definitely like an update from the original Train Sim World, and hopefully it's a positive update. The next line says, we need to bring Train Sim World forward, and by advancing the engine and evolving Simugraph, we can add new features and more types of train simulation. TSW2 includes high speed and long freight for the first time, and sets our future sights on steam engines, multiplayer, key one right there, and more. So the new features, again, is the scenario planner, the in-game livery designer, the adhesion physics, preserved collection for add-ons, new Dovetail Live features including driver logbook, online debriefs, and rail fan shots, immersion features, German High Rail, the London Underground, Bakerloo Line, and the Sandpatch Grade. And so the biggest thing here is that if you haven't caught it already, Sandpatch Grade is now arriving on consoles for the first time and bringing significant gameplay upgrades for PC. So I think one of the main reasons why Sandpatch Grade was not put on console originally is because it was such a large route, and especially with large consist, the game, especially in PC, really drops frames and it drops performance. So it's hard for them to put such a large route with large locomotives on it because of, I think, Simugraph, where is it in here? Yeah, up here, Simugraph. It's the processing power needed for, a long consist to get, all the load information and such like that, takes up a lot of performance. So it seems like TSW2 has been able to really enhance that. And so that way, long routes such like, Sandpatch Grade and heavy freight won't drop performance. which is what I'm going to take from this little snippet here. Again, hopefully it works, and I think it will. I think that Dovetail Games is very, very, very relieved that they're able to do this. You know, it sounds like they're going to be able to do it, you know, without any drop in performance or frames, and it will be just fine. The next thing is, why are you not upgrading our game like Train Sim World 2020? And I think, you know, they just said it. You know, we need to bring Train Sim World forward, advance the engine, evolve Simugraph, and add new features and capabilities for more types of train simulations, such as high-speed, long freight, and the future Steam engines, multiplayer, and more. Again, they keep hinting on Steam engines and multiplayer, which is big stuff for the sim. So for those who don't understand the adhesion feature, adhesion physics brings wheel slip and wheel slide to Train Sim World 2, depending on the rail conditions and driver technique. Feel the slip of wheels in adverse weather, master moving heavy freight, and keep control of your local power on steep inclines. So especially on American diesel routes, you know, heavy routes, you may need to use the sand, you know, for some of your initial moves, you know, to get up a, you know, steep grade, you know, whatever it might be. So that will be cool. And that's a big feature as well for steam locomotives too. With steam locomotives, you can easily wheel slip. And so I think this adhesion feature will definitely allow for steam locomotives to be highly realistic within the sim. What routes and locos are in Train Sim World 2? So obviously you know that the German high-speed line is going to be in there. You also have the London Underground. Once again, I believe these routes were in Train Simulator 2020, but never in Train Sim World, so that's cool that they're being added. And obviously the biggest one being Sandpatch Grade. I think the biggest thing really is being able to play Sandpatch Grade on console. And you'll still get the AC4400, GP38-2, and SD40-2 as well. So you'll get the previous, you know, Sandpatch content from CSX. Once again, they explain it here in the livery designer section. I think it's awesome that they're adding it. It currently doesn't seem like there is going to be any carryover into Steam Workshop for the livery designer, but hopefully, and just like with the scenario planner here, hopefully they can get both of these two integrated into the Steam Workshop. That way other players can download the livery designs of other locos, as well as scenario planners, and, you know, get realistic scenarios, or, you know, creator-made scenarios to other players. Once again here, can I make a livery or scenario to just share or sell? They're not even hinting here that it could potentially be added. You know, obviously selling, you know, I don't think you can really do that, but sharing might potentially be a thing, but they're not even hinting it here. So who knows if that will be a shared thing. But just like the scenario planner, hopefully it will. Hopefully it will be shared, or can be shared to other players through Steam Workshop. So there's also this aspect of immersion within Train Sim World 2. The biggest ones that we read earlier were, you know, newer HUD displays, you know, again, clarity, you know, they even mentioned it here, clearer information on instructions, progress, gradient, speed stuff. So it's just making the player more aware of things that are going on. Again, more, you know, different button mappings on controllers and things like that. But here's another thing too, and there's this line here: streamline game start, automatically taking you directly into the next stage of your last service or scenario. I actually really don't know what that means, but again, I think it's just game performance. And once again, because there's like a bunch of questions asked about that, yes, your purchase add-ons and routes logos from Train Sim World 2020 will be free to download and to play with Train Sim World 2. So again, Train Sim World 2 is a new game. You'll have to buy it. However, your content from Train Sim World 2020 will be free to download. So if you own the stuff in Train Sim World 2020, you can download it. And again, I'm sure that routes like Peninsula Corridor, you know, will also be available in Train Sim World 2 if you don't own it already in Train Sim World 2020. Here's a big one. Will my progress in game save carry over? And that is a hard no. No, period. You can play your add-on routes and logos within Train Sim World 2, but your existing save data will stay safely within the original add-on for Train Sim World 2020. So you can continue that progress anytime within Train Sim World 2020, or you can begin fresh in Train Sim World 2. So keep that in mind, which I don't think is a hard thing to do. If you're like me, who you haven't gone through all of the scenarios within Train Simulator 2020, then it won't be a big deal. It might be a big deal for those who have almost completed everything, that, yeah, you'll have to start fresh in TSW 2, but it's really not a big deal in my opinion. There is this feature where Dovetail Live will track all of your progress from both games and their add-ons, including your driver level, online logbook, and driving debrief. So I guess if you really care about your progress, Dovetail Lives, as long as you sign into it within the sim, it will keep track of that. So you'll have a site where it will, I guess, compile all of it. But for the game itself, if you don't have a Dovetail Live account, it will just, you'll start fresh in Train Sim World 2. And this also answers the question, will Train Sim World 2 overwrite Train Sim World 2020 in any way? That, again, is a hard no. They are separate games and will both play independently. Again, I think they're doing this because it is such an update between TSW 2020 and TSW 2 that they've worked so hard that, yeah, it's not going to be an update. It's going to be a completely new game. And I'm completely fine with paying for a new and updated game because, quite frankly, they spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours working on this. And you can tell just by reading through this that they have spent so much time on it. I'm pretty sure once Sandpatch Grade dropped, when or Train Simulator or Train Sim World, I don't know what I'm saying. When Sandpatch Grade, CSX Heavy Haul, that's what it was called. Train Sim World, CSX Heavy Haul. When that was released, I'm sure Train Sim World 2 was probably in the works. They probably used it as a testing ground, to get their feet wet so they can prepare themselves for Train Sim World 2 and future iterations of Train Sim World. So yes, you will have to buy it, but please don't be mad at Dovetail Games for that. Again, especially if you own a lot of the DLC in Train Sim World 2020 currently, you'll get it for free. It will carry over to Train Sim World too. So you really don't, have to pay, more, for what you already have. You're just paying for the updates. And again, I think paying for those updates are worth it, especially with things that will be coming in the future, it looks. So for those asking about Sandpatch Grade route for PC, so obviously the big thing here is that it's coming to consoles, but let's go ahead and read this paragraph. Sandpatch Grade is new to consoles for this release, but has also been optimized and updated for PC. We're adding 14 new services covering switching in Cumberland Yard, and 2 that add grain traffic to the route. 3 westbound autorack services now have helper trains added, and there will also be more flexible control of what train you're driving. The AC 4400 has wider use on services than ever before, and you'll have better control over what livery the locomotives use. The train weights now use a new weighted wagon system, and loaded trains will require significantly more skill to manage. With the addition of adhesion physics and all other optimizations for Train Sim World 2, we're confident you'll find much more to do in Sandpatch Grade on PC. This, once again, is phenomenal. 14 new services, especially switching in Cumberland Yard. That's, I think, one thing it lacked a lot, is that you can do, I think, so much in Cumberland Yard, but the game currently doesn't offer that. So it's nice to see that while you're paying for updates for TSW2, you're also getting a lot of new features within Sandpatch Grade, a lot more things you can be doing within it as well. Okay, we're getting to the good stuff here in this video, so I hope you guys stuck around to the end here. But the biggest things that they talked about in this article were steam locomotives and multiplayer. And this is something I also want to kind of expand on and talk about. So there is a frequently asked question thing for why no steamers. So it says here, Train Sim World 2 is the large update we needed before we can get steam engines right. We won't release any until we can be sure we're going to do them the justice they and you deserve. Steam locos will need another engine upgrade to make sure that particle effects do justice to performance and visuals, as well as a bespoke Simugraph upgrade to handle the unique experience of steam locomotives. Sound recreation is very important, as is detailed training and in-cab support during gameplay. It's a very large jump from passenger and freight, which we have concentrated on perfecting so far, and high speed, a key focus for this year. After this, we'll continue to work towards Steam. So they make this paragraph sound as if Steam will not be coming right away, which is fine. If you, again, after reading this article, they have a lot of good reasons as to why it's not coming right away. And there are a lot of people who claimed that Train Sim World originally had the ability to add steam locomotives in there. But you can tell just the mood and the sound of how this was particularly written is that they didn't want to rush steam locomotives in and give us a sloppy representation of how they work. And I believe that right there gives you enough justice as to what they're looking forward to, that they're going to have to work on this in depth again to make this work. But the most I can say is that, again, this paragraph really, really tells the community that they're trying. They want to do it correct. They're not going to give you something sloppy and give you a sloppy experience. They're going to do it, give them justice. Steam locomotives in the United States are a big thing. There's a lot of historical societies, and you also have Union Pacific, who have been trying to preserve steam locomotives. Steam locomotives are a big deal to a lot of upcoming rail fans, and a lot of people get into the railroads because of steam locomotives. Dovetail Games understands how important steam locomotives are. They're not going to screw it up. And quite frankly, by the sounds of it, they're on to success here. They're not, again, going to screw it up. They're going to make sure they get it right the first time. And even if it takes maybe an update to tweak it even more, this sounds like they're on the right track for that. Here's another thing I read that I think all the third-party creators and publishers should seriously consider. It starts by saying, can other people create routes and logos? We are already working with a small group of talented developers who are making routes and logos for Train Sim World. In the world of multi-platform development, it is much harder to do this. We are happy to hear from you via our third-party publishing team, and there's their email, if you are experienced at developing in the Unreal Engine on PC and console platforms. So this is where I ask the Train Simulator 2020, or the TS1 community, to get into the Unreal Engine, understand it, understand every aspect of it, and seriously go to Dovetail Games and talk to them about this. I feel like the only thing that will make Train Sim World better is the third-party creators. That's what currently makes Train Simulator 2020 really good, is all the third-party content. For those who followed along with my Donner Pass modernizing series, most of the stuff that I'm using there is not Dovetail Games models. It's third-party developer models that were either officially published through Dovetail Games, and is being used, so such as the Montana Highline route, or even the freeware mods, such as the asset pack that I'm using from the RailWorks America community. That's what makes Train Simulator 2020 look good, is the third-party stuff. So if we can get more third-party publishing teams to get onto this, boy, our Train Sim World experience will be phenomenal. And I'm not saying that Dovetail Games is doing a bad job. Quite frankly, I think what they've been doing so far in Train Sim World is phenomenal, and I think it's way over what other people might have expected from Dovetail Games. But if they can get third-party creators such as Searchlight Simulations, boy, oh boy, will our experience be so much better, and it will be the top of the line in regards to realism. So there is a roadmap that's going to be released first time 1 week before the launch of Train Sim World 2, and that includes potential new add-on routes and locos. This should be interesting to look for as well. The comfort of knowing that large routes can be added into the sim and can be played on PC and consoles without an issue. I could see large routes like Union Pacific Cajon Pass or Union Pacific Donner Pass large routes like that being added into the sim. If this works great, at release, and it works great on consoles, it works great on, PC, which I'm sure it will, we can expect way larger routes. And I'm saying that on the American side of things. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of other European routes and things like that, routes from the UK, that are also not in Train Sim World at the moment because they're just too long. So you can, I think, expect a lot of longer European routes and such like that as well being announced once this new roadmap is released. Another big aspect, where is the full PC editor? So the livery editor and scenario planner are the first steps on our journey towards releasing more comprehensive tools. It's our hope that as many people who want to get creating for Train Sim World 2 will be able to do that, whatever gaming platform they are on. That's a big one too. It shouldn't be just strictly PC and Steam support. It should also be available on console as well. Next paragraph reads, releasing the full editor on PC is a far more complex process than it was on our original train simulator. To begin with, it requires a full download of the Unreal 4 engine itself, and then there are a number of other unique plugins of our own, such as the Simugraph and others that are critical for building both logos and routes. We know from both closed-door testing and working with experienced third-party developers that this isn't an easy editor to use, and until we have resolved these issues, we are not going to release anything more widely. And I agree. This is where Train Sim World kind of struggles with the third-party creator stuff. That's because, they're building it out of an engine. The only reason Train Simulator worked well is because the game isn't built on an official game engine. Train Simulator is very unique in that regard. And so the move to Train Sim World, like I said, they're using a game engine, and that's the Unreal 4 engine. But it is awesome to hear. Again, this is another paragraph where they really sound excited, and they know that they can add this in, that they're going to add this in. They're going to make sure they can do that, and they're going to make sure that the third-party creators can get what they're looking for to make their own models, to make their own routes, etc. Once again, looking forward to this and hoping that it works. The next one is, where is multiplayer? We wanted to bring multiplayer to Train Sim World, and now we have a design that we think will give a great social experience. It's been crucial to design based on the experience of the mode, bringing the right roles and communication to our online experience. Multiplayer is not part of Train Sim World 2, but it's on our future roadmap. So some people ask, is a multiplayer good for a train simulator? And it depends on what type of multiplayer you're talking about. The multiplayer that I want to see is one where it's a two-player co-op. It's one person in the engineer seat, and it's the other person being the conductor. The engineer focuses on his duties as to controlling the locomotive, and it's the conductor's duty to understand where they need to take that loco, where they need to take that consist, and getting out of the engine to do any coupling or any help coupling up to consist or uncoupling. That's what multiplayer, I think, in Train Simulator should be. The multiplayer in Train Simulator should not be one person can go run this consist and another person can go to the other side of the map and run another consist. Yes, that would be cool. However, there'd be, I think, a lot of issues with that. You can have a lot of issues between, computers trying to handle, two consists going on at once. I mean, I basically don't have the words really to express why I think that would be bad, or especially to have like 10 people on the same route trying to run 10 different consists. You could just run into so many game issues with that. But I do believe that a co-op multiplayer, one person as engineer, one person as conductor, I think would be the best multiplayer. And I think it's possible, but once again, it just depends on internet connectivity, depends on the, platform that you're on. You hope that the people who play it on PC have a beefy, PC to be able to do that. Those on console might have it easy because all the consoles are basically the same. But once again, they even say, it just sounds like they're so excited for it. We now have a design that we think will give a great social experience. excited to see where multiplayer goes. You know, hopefully it goes towards the direction that I'm thinking it will go, where it will be that 2-person co-op. If they can, you know, miraculously create, you know, a multiplayer, you know, where you can have multiple people on different consists, that'd be phenomenal. Again, I don't think that's possible, but a 2-player co-op would be phenomenal. And finally, because I've been ranting on for quite a long time now, the last 2 things under the FAQs. The first one being, will there be a track IR and rail driver support on PC? They do say, once again, it's a solid, not at launch. However, they are working on bringing track IR and rail driver PC support to Train Sim World 2 within 1 to 2 months after launch. But it's awesome that track IR is getting support, because there are a lot of people that use track IR in Train Simulator 2020. And I think it would work great in Train Sim World and Rail Driver. And there's so many people who own a Rail Driver, and those things I think are close to $200, $300 if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, being able to use a Rail Driver in Train Sim World, thumbs up on that one. Alright, I don't know how long this YouTube video is going to be, but I've been recording for 52 minutes right now. There's a lot of great stuff on here. I didn't touch on everything in the frequently asked questions part in this article, but I do highly recommend you guys go check it out. Everything I think seems pretty much self-explanatory. There's going to be a lot of people like myself who will ask lots and lots of questions, but I do believe this article does have everything. So you might have a question that's kind of far-fetched, but you might be able to answer that question just by reading this article. So the article is going to be linked in the description. Do go check it out. Yeah, and if you do have specific questions, go to the Dovetail Games forums and go ask them there. And Dovetail Games they've been doing live streams as well. I'm pretty sure they're going to do a live stream, you know, I think later this week or something, answering people's questions. And you can always check out those videos. You know, once they're done with the live streams, they'll be up on YouTube. Just regardless, I think a lot of people need to give Dovetail Games a lot of credit and a lot of support for what they're doing. There are people in the community, and I don't even want to call them people within the community, who will bash Dovetail Games for all their hard work and their effort. And I truly think that's unfair, because there's a lot of people out there who, if you try to give them the tools to make what Dovetail Games has done on the Unreal Engine 4, they probably couldn't do it. They probably didn't know where to start, and quite frankly, it would be crap. You have to give Dovetail Games a ton of support, a ton of thanks. I truly think Train Sim World 2 is going to be a great step in the right direction. I personally cannot wait to buy it. I cannot wait to see the improvements, and I cannot wait to continue giving Dovetail Games my thoughts, my opinions, and my feedback. And I hope everyone watching as well does the same too. Give them some positive feedback. Go show your support to them. The future of train simulators is here, and it's been here, but Train Sim World 2 is definitely headed towards the right direction in growing that even more and taking it to the next level. So with that, if you watched this entire video, I thank you guys so much. If you want more train simulator content, do be sure to subscribe to my channel. Like this video if you enjoyed and are excited for Train Sim World 2 to come out. Reserve my comment section for just excitement and, you know, support for Dovetail Games. I am not a member of Dovetail Games. I'm not, you know, I don't have any information. You know, I'm just a casual train simulator player giving you guys the rundown on what is going on and my take of things just by reading this article. So once again, thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.